My town was built around a lake. Nobody will admit the lake exists. Never acknowledge the lake. Never look at it. Never talk about it. Never so much as think about it. None of these rules were ever actually spoken out loud during my childhood. That would be acknowledging the lake. After all, but they were as clear as look both ways before crossing, or no candy for men with beards and tattoos. The city where I grew up is built along the shoreline of this massive, crystal-clear lake, nestled in the mountains. Frankly, it's a great place to grow up. There's nationally renowned elementary schools, drug-free-ish, high schools, and nature trails in every direction. The population sits at around 50K, decent-sized, which makes it all the more incomprehensible that no one, not even those who just moved here, will admit the lake exists. One of my earliest memories is walking with my mom on one of the trails near our house, one that skirted the lake itself. I had to be young, 3 or 4 at most. I was yanking on her arm in that relentless way little kids do and begging her to let me go swim in the lake. There's nothing there, I remember her telling me over and over. Nothing. At the time, I couldn't understand her reaction. My parents never lied to me. That was always their policy. Why wouldn't she look the direction I was pointing? Now, though, looking back and filling in the blanks, I remember her jaw clenched tight, a sheen of sweat on her forehead and determined eyes staring resolutely forward, refusing to see the water just along the trail. Terrified. I realize now that's what she looked like. When I was in 2nd grade, I had a best friend, Simon. We would spend each afternoon escaping our daily chores by riding our bikes, playing catch, or other equally irresponsible forms of reckless loitering, to quote my crabby widowed neighbor. There was this one particular hill on Sickle Street we loved to take our bikes down. It really was massive. We had to make sure no adults were watching us when we committed speeding violations down it, or they would flip out and screech at us to wear helmets. Each time we made the daring ride, we would do it just a bit faster than the last. Well, one day we did our fastest yet. We flew down the hill at a speed that would have killed us if we'd fallen, then hopped off our bikes at the bottom. Simon and I collapsed in the grass to cackle at our sheer, stupid audacity. We broke the sound barrier, I said through the laughter. Let's do it again, he said. My will almost fell off. We laughed some more, then finally calmed until we were just sitting there, still giddy like we'd accomplished something monumental. It was such a good feeling of victory and unstoppability, maybe that was why I said it. Do you think there's any fish in there? Huh? Simon asked. Sickle Street twisted to the right after the hill, but if you kept walking straight, you'd hit the lake. That was the view we had as we'd madly flown down the hill. The lake. Surely Simon had seen it? All these times he had to have noticed it. The lake. Pointed at it. Do you think there's any fish in it? He stared at me. Any hint of accomplishment was gone from his expression. I'd never brought the lake up with him before. Let's do the hill again, he said. There has to be, I continued. It's fresh water. It's huge. I've never seen anybody fishing in it, but I'm going home. There it was, the terror. The same thing I'd seen in everybody else when I dared to bring it up. Just look at it, though. You see it, don't you? I don't see anything, he said. But it's right there. It's... Simon snapped. His face morphed into a mask of hideous anger. He shoved me backwards, and my elbow gashed against my handlebars when I fell. I thought that was it, that he'd released his anger and now we could ride down the hill again. But instead Simon kicked me. He rammed his foot into my side. There's nothing there. He kicked me again, and again, and again. I suspect a rib or two broke. Not sure though. I never told my parents what had happened, and ribs heal on their own. The next day in class, Simon wouldn't respond to me. When I would bike to his house to hang out, he never came to the door. He never attacked me again, but he never looked at me again either. I became like the lake to him, non-existent. Years passed. I mostly stopped bringing up the lake, but it was always there. Always this dark blue smudge at the bottom of my vision when I looked at the mountains. I never did stop looking at it, but nobody else would. On walks, they would face the other way. They would comment on how pretty the mountains were, but never anything else. In school, when we learned about the water cycle, the class was dead silent with discomfort as similar to how it felt on our 4th grade sex ed day. Just talking about water made people think of it. Thinking about it made people tense. Why? I would theorize as I lay in bed at night. Why couldn't it exist? Some people even lived on it. A few of my friends had houses right on the shoreline with the water lapping at their backyards. But when we played, we would never get close. Their parents didn't build fences to block it off. To do so might admit there was something that needed blocking. We simply ignored it. They simply ignored it, I should clarify. For years I wondered if I was crazy. That would make the most sense. Even if I didn't have other hallucinations. Maybe somehow for this one odd thing I unexplainably did. Except how would that explain people's constant nervousness? The catch in their throat when they turned too quickly and forgot to close their eyes? How would hallucinations explain how Simon reacted years ago? Eventually, I stopped thinking about it so much. It wasn't hard. I never stooped to ignoring the lake like everybody else, but it barely affected my life. Our city was a cozy place to grow up. It was easy to forget about this one dark ink blot, no matter how massive it might be. Every once in a while, though, my curiosity would bubble up. Once, as a freshman, a new girl moved into our class halfway through the year. I cornered her after class, before she could make it to the cafeteria. "So have you seen it?" I asked. Hey," she said. "Sorry, seen what?" "The lake." The girl stiffened. Her eyes went wide, and her hands started trembling. "I don't know you," she said, and scurried away. She just moved here. How could she already know to pretend it didn't exist? Another time, just after I'd gotten my license, I stopped at a gas station to buy some lottery tickets. I know. You have to be 18 to buy those, yada yada, but I was friends with the cashier, and anyways, it's not like I was doing drugs, so let's all move past this, yeah? "Maybe we'll get a winner this time," the cashier, Gerald, said. I'm impulsive, not stupid. Nobody ever wins with these things. Somebody does. I paused. I wish they did tell us who. Other states force the lotto companies to announce it, I've heard. It might make me feel better about wasting my paychecks on these. Gerald shrugged. Some things you never get to know. Some things you have to live your whole life without an answer to. Somebody should put that on a motivational poster. After that, I stopped in the bathroom. When I came out, an unfamiliar woman was talking to Gerald at the counter. "Just passing through," she said. "Never been here before, but the mountains are stunning." I followed her outside. "Hey!" I called out. The woman, holding her daughter's small hand, turned to me. "You dropped this." I held out the woman's lost receipt, even though nobody in the history of anywhere has ever cared about a lost receipt. "Thank you," she said anyway. "You're just passing through?" "Sorry. I have a tendency to overhear other people's conversations." "No worries. I have a tendency to speak too loudly. And yes, I am. Could you do me a favor?" I asked. The woman smiled amicably. "Could you just tell me what that is?" I pointed. Her eyes trailed towards it. "The mountains?" "No, beneath it." Her face snapped back to me, like Simon's had. It transformed to something twisted and furious, and she clamped her hands over her daughter's eyes. "How dare you!" She marched back to her car. The woman had never been here before. She'd barely even talked to anybody in our city. But she knew. Somehow she knew this grand, terrible secret that I didn't. Another year passed. It was my senior year, and my friends and I went to prom in a group of 8, me with my 6-month girlfriend. At the time, I knew it was ridiculous to think that Sherry, my girlfriend, and I would end up working out. She had college plans. I didn't. Now, though, looking back, I think we might have had a shot. I really do. The night was amazing. We danced until midnight. We snuck shots somebody had smuggled in behind the bleachers. By the time the teacher chaperones were shooing us out, we were giggly, buzzed, and not quite ready for it all to end. You'll be happy to hear we at least had the good sense not to drive in our current state. We lived close anyways, so the 8 of us walked through the darkened suburb streets. "New," Sherry said when we reached her best friend's house. "Don't go in. Let's do something." "Like what?" We were all silent. None of our parents would be especially thrilled about hosting a group of intoxicated, underage teenagers. The nearest Denny's was miles away, and everywhere else was already closed. "I know what we could do," I said. My words probably slurred. "Something dangerous." It seemed to perk everybody up. Dangerous. In high school, that word was equivalent with fun. They followed me without questions down the street and through a grove of trees. We stood on the lake shore. Nobody spoke. "Come on," I said. "Why shouldn't we?" Wordlessly, without deliberating, the 8 of us stripped down to our underwear and waded in. We didn't laugh. Our joking and giggling from before was over. Our senses sharpened, and our brains seemed to clear. Nobody said the word lake. It was like, even in doing this, we still couldn't bring ourselves to admit it existed. We averted our gazes upwards and thought about other things. We were doing this, but we weren't. The lake existed, but it didn't. "A little more?" I asked Sherry. We were nearly chest deep. She nodded, and we waded further, past the others, until only our heads were dry. "I never thought I'd be doing this." She gripped my hand. "Why?" "You know why. But I don't." "Sherry, I don't know. Everybody seems to know what's going on. Except me, and I don't know how to ask or make them tell me. Why can't we talk about?" I felt it. Sherry's gasp in front of me told me she did too. Indescribable. Out of nowhere. Incorporeal. There was an immediate sense of wrongness. Something had shifted in the universe, but I didn't know what. Only that something had, and that we weren't supposed to be here. We weren't supposed to be doing this. We had to leave now. Now, the others were already rushing back to the shore. Sherry and I followed, half swimming, half running through the dark water. I almost expected something to grab me and drag me under, but nothing did. When we sprinted from the water, we were gasping and shuddering. Half of us were sobbing. We put back on our clothes and walked back to our houses in silence. Nobody would acknowledge what just happened or the presence we'd all felt. We all waved goodbye. In the morning, my friends were gone. I didn't know it until Monday when none of them were at school. Occasionally, my teachers would glance at their empty desks, then quickly away, as if they'd slipped up by looking. I tried texting each friend in turn, but each time the only message I received from any of them was invalid number. This sender does not exist. After school, I rushed to Sherry's house and pounded on the door. Her mother answered. "Is Sherry here?" Her mother's eyes were vacant and red. "I don't know a Sherry. What are you talking about? Your daughter? My girlfriend? Sherry?" Her jaw trembled as if she was on the verge of bursting into tears. "I don't have a daughter." She shut the door. A decade has gone by. I never did end up leaving my hometown. That might sound crazy, but this city really is a good place to grow up. The people are nice. The mountains are beautiful, and the elementary schools are safe. That's all I want for my daughter, her safety. This is the best place to raise her. I just hope she isn't like me, though some part of me already knows she will be. She will question, be curious, want to know why. I'll pretend the lake doesn't exist. I'll look away. Maybe if I ignore it enough she will too. But if she doesn't, I've already resolved what to do. Once, just once, when she's old enough, I'll sit my daughter down. I will point at the lake and say, yes, it exists. No, you're not crazy. And then when she asks, why? I will tell her the horrible truth, that some things you never get to know. Some things you have to live your whole life without an answer to.